Glad you could join me. But I wanted to just take a moment, as I always do before we start the meditation, to talk about a topic as it relates to meditation. And if you notice by the title that I put in on this video, something to the effect of learning to not take the bite, or not to bite, learning to not bite. And that's an awkward phrasing, I know, but I was trying to share something that one of my teachers, Zen Master Bonet, the Kansas Zen Center, was talking about this last weekend when she was answering questions for students. So, and she was being asked about how we learn not to sort of take the bait. And probably for most of us in our lives, we feel that this goes on all the time. We get stuck in this rut of always taking the bait, always taking the bait. So I think what meditation helps with, having some kind of a meditation practice like this helps with, is learning to have what I like to call sort of a pause that occurs. Sometimes that's a tiny little pause, but it's a little gap that occurs between the trigger and the reaction of the trigger. Someone says something, there's the trigger. And generally, we quickly react to it. But a meditation practice can kind of create this little bit of a gap in there. And sometimes over time, the gap gets bigger. Now, sometimes we still jump the gap. I know I do. And we still, even after that pause, we still react. But generally, I think what happens when you have a meditation practice over time is you get that trigger, that first event, whatever that is, that triggers that anxiety, that anger, that resentment, that sadness, whatever it is. But the meditation practice begins to help us pay attention. And we pay attention to what's happening. And we create this gap. Now, as I said, sometimes even with that paying attention and noticing what's going on, we still jump the gap and we still have a reaction. But sometimes, though, the reaction is lessened. It's not as intense. It doesn't last as long. And sometimes, my goodness, we're lucky enough where we don't have any reaction at all. Sometimes we'll catch it in time and pay attention to what's going on, or we can interrupt that reaction and neutralize the reaction, and we're not having that same old response that we're always having to that trigger event. So it's about paying attention, and that's what a practice like this can help with. Is it slows things down. We begin to see what's going on around us, right? Both in our minds, what's all that craziness that's going on sometimes, and in this moment, like where I am, what am I doing, what am I hearing, what am I seeing, what am I feeling? So it helps us tune into the moment. So when that reaction, that trigger comes back around again, as it always seems to, we notice it differently. We notice it, and we kind of go, oh, look at that, look. Well, that's interesting. That's something that triggers me a lot. And just having that awareness of it, not being it, but being aware of it, helps us sometimes interrupt that. And again, it doesn't mean we all of a sudden become bodhisattvas and we never get triggered by anything, because that is most certainly not the case, not even for the Buddha himself. He was never above being frustrated or angry or sometimes being irritated by things. It's not like it goes away. So we need to stop framing things in this way of, being winning and losing, right? Being great at something or being bad at something. These polar opposites we create. Good, bad, right, wrong. Great, lousy, suck at it. All that kind of stuff. That's just not the way it is. It's a wide and long spectrum that is fluid, and we move around it and within it, and so don't judge yourself or your meditation practice based on some hard and fast goal you have set in your mind. And meditation must not work for me because I still get angry, I still get sad, I still get anxious. So obviously meditation doesn't work. Just pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Keep noticing what's going on. And yes, of course, sometimes you still get angry, sad, resentful, whatever. But notice over time, if you keep practicing, how that diminishes. Sometimes it'll diminish and diminish. And then maybe over time, it's not nearly as a hard trigger as it used to be. Okay, so that's my little soapbox this morning, and I've taken up enough of our time. We should really get on to our meditation, which is why we're really here. I'm going to adjust this just a tiny bit. Sorry, again, this is a new setup for me here. So I'm going to grab my phone so I can set the timer. So we're going to do a little 20-minute sit. And sorry, I'm getting my timer out if you're wondering what on earth I'm doing here. I'll do a little 5-minute sort of guided meditation, and then we'll start 15 minutes of just silent sitting, where you there, me here. I'll just be silent as much as I can be. You might hear car horns or whatever coming from around me, but otherwise I'll be silent. And you do the same, and we're just watching, paying attention like we talked about. We're paying attention to what's going on without judgment, right? Without pushing away, just letting it be, paying attention. Even if you're triggered in the moment, you're paying attention to being triggered. So we'll do that again for about 15 minutes of silence before we wrap it up, pretty close to 12 o'clock. We may go over by just a little bit. Okay, so hopefully you're sitting somewhere comfortable, and if you're not on a cushion as I am, maybe you're at least in a chair where you've got some support under your tailbone and you can feel like you can sit up, get your spine straight, your shoulders back, not far back, but just back a little bit and down. You can kind of even see it in my video here. So we're trying to avoid this sort of hunched over kind of posture. We're trying to just be a little bit more relaxed and erect. And the angle of this probably makes me look like I'm jacking my chin back, but I'm just getting the chin up a little bit into more of a neutral position as I look straight ahead, right over the camera actually, and down towards the floor ahead of me, just so I can breathe. So let's just take a moment. You find your focal spot for your eyes and let your shoulders relax and drop down, and your hands are in your lap or on your knees or maybe in mudra position around your navel, whatever it is that you're comfortable with. And just breathing. Maybe scanning your body with your mind's eye, just sort of checking in with every part of your body, scanning from the top of your head where you start, and then slowly moving down through your skull and kind of looking into your sinus cavity and into your throat and neck. And each place you go, as you move your way down your body into your middle body and lower abdomen eventually, don't rush. You're just looking for where there's tension. If you want to close your eyes in this part, that's totally okay. You're looking for where there's tension, where there's any stress, discomfort, tightness. Just checking it out, seeing what's going on. And not trying to fix any of these things, of course. Just noticing. Sometimes bringing awareness to those parts of your body where you might have some tension or discomfort can by itself help alleviate some of that. Just noticing. And if it doesn't, and you're noticing a little bit of discomfort and tension, tightness, soreness, just take note of it. And then keep moving on and scanning the rest of your body. So now we're going to go ahead, since we're running a little bit late, we're going to go ahead and move into our 15 minutes of just silence. And we'll do a little under 15 here so we can wrap up close to noon. You'll hear me at the end of the time ring a small bell here, and then I'll bow to you. And we'll have a couple of announcements before we go about our day.